Hey and welcome, my name is Ray and this video is a poetry final test. In this video I'm going to do an in-depth analysis on a famous poem that you probably have or probably haven't heard, and that is Alone by Edgar Allan Poe. Now I'm going to split my analysis results into 4 points. The first one being the summary of the poem, the second one is the analysis of literary devices in the poem, the third one is the analysis poetic devices used in the poem, and last but not least, I'm going to give my personal opinions towards this poem. Throughout analyzing this poem, I've gathered a lot of references from the internet and of course my own analysis. Now without wasting any time, let's get right into the analysis. The popularity of Alone. Now we are going to start right off the bat. Start from the popularity of the poem itself. Edgar Allan Poe is a famous poet and a fiction writer who wrote Alone. It is a lyrical poem that compromises gloomy and dark reflection of one's life. It was first published in 1865. The poem recollects the childhood memories of the speaker, of course, the Edgar Allan Poe himself. It illustrates how his childhood experience have affected his life. This poem is a representative of loneliness. It is written from the perspective of an adult who remembers his troubled childhood and made him gloomy. The writer stated that he spends most of his time alone and could not have a chance to share his thoughts, feelings, and other experience to others. Therefore, his perception towards life and nature differs from the people who enjoyed childhood. And of course, the theme of this poem is quite clear. We can clearly see that the poem is mainly focused on loneliness, sadness, and negativity. The tormented speaker allows the readers to see a glimpse of his childhood and bitter experience that change his perception of life as a whole. And yeah, if you read this poem, it clearly stated that the speaker have a rough childhood experiences, and basically that experience changed his perception, as I've already mentioned. This just shows that a childhood experience, a bad childhood experience, can change a person as a whole. And the next point is analysis of literary device in Alone. This device that I'm talking about is for the writers to add more richness into a simple sentences, and Edgar Allan Poe impeccably pulled it off. Now I'm going to say all of the literary device that Edgar Allan Poe uses in his poem. The first one is imagery. Imagery is used to make readers perceive things involving their 5 senses. For example, from red cliff of the mountain, and from the thunder and the storm. The second literary device that Allan used is consonance. Consonance is a repetition consonant sound in the same line, such as the sound of R from the torrent or the fountain. And the third one is enjambment. It is a thought or a clause that does not come to an end at a line break, instead moves over the next line, such as from the sun that round me rolled in its autumn tint of gold. The fourth one is anaphora. It refers to repetition of a certain word or expression in the first part of some verses. For example, as others is repeated in the opening lines to show his intense loneliness. The fifth one is personification. Personification is used to give a human qualities for an inanimate object. For example, in the final lines of the poem, when the rest of heaven was blue, he personifies heaven as if it can feel sad. And the last device that he used is alteration. Well, alteration is a repetition of consonant sound in the same line. Well, such as the sound of E and I loved alone, and etc. And on to the next point is analysis of poetic device in Alone. Well, poetic and literary device are the same, but a few are used only on poetry. Here are some analysis of some poetic devices that are used in this poem. The first one is stanza. Well, stanza is a poetic form of some line. It is a long poem having 22 lines with 22. It is a long poem having 22 lines with no stanza break. The second one is rhyme scheme. The rhyme scheme followed by the entire poem is AABB. And the last one is iambic tetrameter. The poem follows IMBC tetrameter, such as from childhood, our, I have not. And the last point is I'm going to give the personal opinions towards this poem. I'm going to use a subjective approach to it. What I think about this poem is actually great. It depicts how a man who feel really traumatized with his childhood memories. But I do think that all the words that he wrote in that paper for that poem is all meaningful, and it's really affecting him as a person. And that is the end of my analysis. Hope that explanation answers your curiosity behind the meaning of the poem. And I hope to see you in another occasion. My name is Ray, signing out. Peace.